Okay. Keep saying. Okay. Let's. I think that we should probably pick up from the beginning. There wasn't much. There's a. We know that there's a concept of rodef, and we'll just start from maybe that backdrop. In Ben Noach, and the Chaim in Sefer quotes it from the Gemara in Sanhedrin. I think it's base on the base that, and the learns the pasuk Shefer Dom Vadam Dom. So it must be that the din roid applies to Ben Noach. But if you see the way the Rambam quotes it, and it's you get the impression that there's no mitzvah to kill a roidef, but the Ben Noach, there's a heter, okay, and be'emes roidef, there's no loss of lochos einech, so sochos einecho, and sam de'oecha, there's no lavim, and it's just a heter. However, by Bnei Yisrael, not only that I have the het of Ben Noach, but there is a mitzvah, and it's interesting. This mitzvah is surrounded. Afterwards is sharanas, is dinim, and maybe I don't know, it's 15 or 20 mitzvahs before also dinim. But this mitzvah is an amal, which is in the Arabic means a bona fide tzivur. He shetzivonu lahātzil hanirdev miyara roidev. One is obligated to save. It's not only a heter to kill the roidev; it's an obligation. Afilu b'nafshay shel nirdev. Kloima she'onu mitzuvim la'arug al roidev. Im lo nucha lahatzil hanirdev. Elo bnefesh harodev, or misale b'katzois is kapo leisochos. Okay, so there's something new formulated. There's a mitzvah chiyuvis, an obligation to kill a rodev, even though in Ben Noach it's only a het. And the pasuk which is quoted is V'omer Yis'aleh b'katzois kapo leisochos einech. So the pasuk for rodev talks about cutting off the hand. It doesn't talk about killing. And that's what the Rambam is going to work on. V'loshen Sifri, b'mabushav. So there's a story. We'll go over the story. We'll see about the story. Is ki yiriv ben anoshim. We'll talk about there's a fight. Okay. And we'll see, it's not a fight which is in any way affects or is an issue of sakonas nefashos, because if it would be sakonas nefashos for the Baal, the Isha that's machzem avusha of the his foe, the foe of the Baal, she will be justified because she is rimatzel the nirdaf b'yararodev. It's a plain type of fight. We don't know exactly what it's, a physical or whatever it is, a fight, and there's no issue of pikuach nefesh. And comes the isha, and she's machzik bavusha, and that's eva sheesh by sakona, and the assumption is that there's sakonas nefashos, and that's what the Sifri says. Babusha, ma babusha miyuchad sheesh by sakonas nefashos. So interesting. Why was Mavusha picked out over here? We'll see a whole different narrative later. It's a clear cut sakonas nefashos. Ma babushav miyuchad sheyesh boy sakonas nefashos, and the Torah says v'katzeisa es kapo. You should cut off her hand in order to there's a culmination. There should be no more issue to eradicate. There's no to eliminate. There's no more sakonas nefashos. Katsos is kapo. Kach kol dovo sheis boy sakonas nefashos. How you because is a kapo. So the kids, I assume this might be a pirush makubal, that when the Torah says Mabushov, it's lav dafka Mabushov, and Mabushov is an example of an Eva shel shomatuluyabo, and the sakonas nefashos. And any time the sakonas nefashos, there is a mitzvah of a katzeis kapo. Bakatzois kapo, melamed she'ato hayiv lahatziloi b'chapo, with her hand. So it means that you physically cut off the hand. The pasuk is taken literally. Okay, that will be very important as we go on. Minayin she'im einoi ein ato yochol latziloi b'chapo. If it's impossible to save only by cutting the hand would not save the life of the person machzik mavushav. Sha'ato chayiv latzilo b'nafsho, you should kill her, because you have to save the nirdaf b'nafsho shaloidev. And it's an amazing thing. We'll talk about it later. We learn that the chiyuv of hatzola b'nafshay, the chiyuv of hatzola be'aver, is learned out v'katzoisa es kapo. The chiyuv to be matzil b'nafshay shel rodev, that the nirda b'nafshay rodev, is learned from the lav of leisochas eirecha. So we'll have to see. Let's just put the questions down, And we know very clearly that they are mitzvahs aseh, mitzvahs lois aseh. An amazing thing over here, that from a mitzvahs lois aseh, we're deriving and redefining aseh. Because if you would have defined the aseh from the simple way, for katsoy says kapo, it's the destruction or the of an aver of the rodev in order to save the nirda, but and that's the mitzvah. The katzois is kapo, and comes loisachos einecho, and it redefines the mitzvah, that it's not only hatzola be ava me'evarav, but even if you're going to kill the isha, and that's necessary in order to save the nirdof, the mitzvah is to kill the rodev, and that's what it says in the beginning. He should see amar. It's a chiyuv. Lahatzil nirdof miyad rodev. Laholgoy. Laholgoy means the rodev is about to kill him, and you have to save the nirdof. Vafilu b'nafshoy b'nefesh rodev. Kloima shor mitzvah la'al rodev im lo yochol lahatzil al nirdof elohu elo b'nefesh rodev hu omo yis'aleh So he's proving not only are you allowed to cut off the hand, but you're allowed, and not only you allowed to, you have to. You have to kill the loidev. Vafilu b'nefesh loidev. So here he quotes now both the lav and the aseh, because you're learning out from the aseh v'katzos kappa, the destruction of an aver, but to kill the loidev, you learn out from the soros eidech. It's an amazing thing, and this all is part of the mitzvah say. Hine kvois bo'elcho inyon atzivui hazeh, u'she'omru eishes ha'echot. So there's the wife of the adversary and her husband's the wife. There's a husband, a wife, and the adversary of the husband. Okay, so the isha is machzika bavushav of the husband's adversary. So it says usha'amru eshes ha'echod omnom diba v'heva. Diba v'heva v'kavon it's lav dafka the wife, but the wife will stick up for her husband. Omnom diba v'heva v'kavon להציל הנרדף באיבוריו של רודף. ואם אפשר להצילוי, oh, excuse me, sorry. ואם, what's over? ואם אי אפשר להצילו, כי אם במיסוס הרודף בפעם אחת יהרגהו. We'll see what that means soon. Lineda, just one second. הנה כבר הסביר לכו עניין ציווי זה שאומרו איש זו אחד אומנם דיבה בהיבה. Yeah. See here, here's very important. Kapach, it says, what probably, you see, I'm not sure over here. You see, Diba Baheve L'chera is two things going on, but he's talking about only one of them. The Diba Baheve, I assume he said already that it's Lav Dafka Mavushav, okay, but it's with any Ava Sheish Moschaz the portion. Here he said it's Lav Dafka Eshes Echod, but it's any person who's putting someone in sakana. The din is lahatzil anida peidav shaloidev, and it's a general thing. V'im yefshel hatzilu ki'im b'misas aloidev, the gamre or pamachas yalgeu. V'izboy mishpdei mitzvazo v'perek shmini misanhedrin. Okay, so here now we'll take it slowly. Just okay, we'll see. Okay, I'll hold that for. Okay, let's go. Let's just get the general things down and show you how odd what's going on over here. The Rambam is not only here, but in Mishnah Torah, Hilchos V'Seichel Shmiras HaNefesh, Perek Aleph, Halacha Zayin, Ches and Tes, he understands the parsha of this fight which the Torah is presenting to us. B'chinotzu anoshim yachdo ish v'ochiv v'kovo eshes ho'echod lahatzil es isha miyad makeu v'shulcha yodoi v'echzikam v'avusha. So that's what she did. The woman was machzik mavusha in order to stop the husband's adversary from continuing the fight. Okay, but since she's done something in such which has an sakonas nefashos, she has presented her aver, her hand, for the exposed the hand to the possibility of being just cut off. That's what the pasuk says. So now let's just look at the altercation over here. It's very clear from Chazal that in this altercation between the two men, there's no sakonas nefashos. We'll see about it. There's an altercation, two men. The woman's coming, machzika mavusha, for the person who she wants to save her husband. And he end up, she wants to save her husband. We end up cutting her hand off. Because she put the other person in sakana, and we have to, and she is a rodef, and we have to cut her hand off. Which will stop that he's machzim avusha, she's machzim avusha. So, number one, the first premise is there's no issue of sakana on these two men that are fighting. And therefore, she is a rodef because she's machzim avusha. But there's no rodef before. Because if there was a sakana for Ba'ala, and the person, the adversary, the foe of the husband, is putting the husband's life in danger, she is chayiv to kill the other person in order to save her husband. You know, I'm just wondering now, you could maybe flip this around. One second. And maybe there's sakonas aver on the husband. Or maybe she could have saved. You see, for some reason, we're assuming, I'm not sure, you could have imagined a case where the woman wasn't allowed. You see, you could have imagined a case. Let's say let's say the adversary, I don't want to show you why you can't do it. The adversary of the husband is a rodef, okay? But she can be matzil bi'echemei vorov, and she goes to initial sakonas nefashos. So, is she still a rodef? I would say no, because he's only a I would say no. He because if Yochel Atzilo Be'echme Vorov and you kill, you're not a Rotzeach. You're only a Shefech Damim. But the question you have to don't know whether in that increment there would have been a din roidef that you would be allowed to kill her. Okay, so this is already too much of me, but let's assume for the moment, okay? That's what I want to assume. I'm not sure if the other situation work out, but Chazal, I assume that even independent of anything, we should assume that there's no sakonis nefashos between the two people, because Chazal would have said something. The whole discussion, Chazal, is only about how and when are you allowed to cut the woman's hand off, and that's what's called kappa. In order to save the adversary of the Baal. There's a mitzvah and a chiyuv min haTorah to cut off the hand of the woman, l'hatzil chayli, to save the life of the adversary of the Baal, because she has put him in a situation of sakana. You see, I'm just pointing out something, but just telling you this an aside. See, what I would have said over here is that you should just attack the woman and that she should loosen her grip on Bavushov, and that would save everything. In other words, the assumption is you go straight for a hand, and that to me is a little bit odd, but I have nothing to say about that because, Chazal talk about Yochel Hatzilo, it kills him. So the Ram, you look at the Ram, you see that you're Shefer Dom. You're not Chayv Misa, but you're Shefer Dom. But I would have said, but there's no discussion, but there probably should have been a discussion. If you could have saved the adversary, the Baal, by knocking the woman out and not cutting a hand off, I'm not sure why the general discussion that, I don't believe there's a difference, but I don't know, nothing said about this. But that's just a point. That's what I would have assumed. That if you could knock the woman out without cutting a hand off, that also you should do. But I can imagine that's not a mitzvah. It says v'katzois kapo is and before that there's no mitzvah. So I'm not sure what exactly happens. So the mitzvah of Rodef, the mitzvah of is to save the Rodef. So if you can knock him out, the Chayla should have been a mitzvah of doing that. And the Torah is going on the second case, second step, where for some reason you can't loosen a grip, and the only way is to cut a hand off. Okay. Now, however, from the end of the passage we said before, is allowed to refrain from saving the nirdof. So if someone doesn't attack the rodef to save the nirdof, not only does he violate the Aseh of a katsoises kapov, he violates a law. And the Ram quotes in Hilchos Masech Shmiras Nefesh, Perek Aleph Halacha Tes. Now, so that is the simple thing. Then an amazing thing happens. We learn You see, let's start slowly. We were always, listen, we were always brought up that mitzvahs aseh are usually, but not always, a kum v'aseh, and lavi mashevi al taseh. Okay, mitzvah says supposed to do something, and lavim he's supposed to refrain from doing something. Okay, but okay, so there's a lav loisachos einecho. You should not refrain from saving him. Okay. The question is, can you extrapolate from a lav an obligation to do something? Because it's loisachos einecho. You shouldn't be a sheva al tasa, but you should be a kum v'aseh. And that is what we're learning out from over here. Because learning out loisachos einecho, you shouldn't be a sheva al tasa and sit back and do nothing. And if you do that, you violate the lav. So the lav says, do something. And it says that if eno yocho lahatzel be'echa mevorov, you have to kill. That's what we're doing. Just simple before we get more complicated. And it's very clear from Chazal, and that we saw in the Sefer Foolish. It's Eva Sheish Bo Sakonis. It's called Dova Sheish Bo Sakonis Nefoshes, and that's and that's a Mavushav is Labdap Mavushav. It's called Dova Sheish Bo Sakonis Nefoshes. And Mavushav is an Eva Sheish Bo Sakonis Nefoshes. Now, let's just try to ask some questions here. This is the story. It's a story of two people fighting, no sakonis nefoshes, and the woman comes in and the situation of Rodef and Nilda. And the question is, how do you play it out? Okay. So if the Torah is trying to tell us a situation of Rodef and Nilda, why does the Torah present it in such a odd and strange situation that the woman is machzin mavushav? It's a very odd way of expressing it. And the whole approach to the pasuk, there's a double portion that the two people fighting, the men fighting with their fists and who knows what. That's not sakonis nefoshes. But the woman over here, what she does, that's sakonis nefoshes. Very, very strange way of looking at it. And how could we be so certain that loisachos einecho is an ashora not to kill? Maybe it's an ashora to refrain from cutting off a hand. Because the person says, listen, this woman, it's a very noble thing. She's very attached to her husband, and she's trying to save her husband from this guy who is a fight. And we say, that you should certainly cut her hand off, and don't say smallest that she has noble intentions. Now, why don't you interpret the puzzle like that? Why do you say in something we're not talking about to save the life of the adversary, the foe of the Baal? Now that is the pshat in the pasuk that we're learning here, and with the problems. Okay. On the other hand, there's another interpretation of this pasuk. That's what makes things very interesting. This pasuk is explaining another mitzvah, the mitzvah of din tashlumei chayva. And it's coming to explain that there's not only tashlumim of nezek, okay, and lipui, and sheves, which was already mishpatu with sheves, and also nezek, and tsar, but there's also tashlumei boishes. If you are chayvo and you mevayish someone, this tashlumin are called the mevayish mizvayish. When you mevayish another person, Yisrael. The isha who's machzika mevavusha, she's mevayish the foe of her husband. And the Rambam quotes this very clearly in Mishnah Torah. In Hilchos Chayvul Umazik, Perek Alpha Lochates. Uminayin, Shu Chayiv B'Boishes, that in Tashlumi Chabola, there's also a Chiyuv Boishes. B'fnei Atzmo, independent of the Tsar, and the Nezek, and the Sheves, and the Ripui, this Tashlumi Boishes. Sha'arei Nemra, V'shilcha Yoda V'echzika B'avusha V'katzoises Kapo, V'chlal Din Zeh Tenas HaMevayesh. So it says, this pasuk is talking about the Knas of the Mevayesh. And there's even another interpretation. The Ram says in Hilchos Chayvul Umazik, Perek Aleph Halacha Dalet, V'chein zeh shenema b'chayva b'chaveiroi umazikoi lo yisochos einecho shelo yisochos b'tashlumim shema toima onihu zeh shelo b'kavona chova boy achameno v'kach nemo lo yisochos einecho. So it's not talking about refraining from killing a rodef. It's talking about the merachim and tashlumin. So, if we're learning the whole narrative in this story is talking about a case of chayvul mazik and boishes, l'cheira, we're not cutting the woman's hand off with Mitzias, but she is chayiv mamon. And that's what Bava Kama says of Chav Chesed and Aleph. Toshma, the Katsui says kapo mamon. It's not that you cut the hand off with Mitzias, but it's tashlumei mamon. And also in the Sifri, in Shoftim Piska Kuf Tzadi, Uminayin Sha'Mevayesh Mishalim Mamon Nema Kan L'Sochos Einecho V'Nedma L'Halon L'Sochos Einecho Ma L'Sochos Einecho Ho M'L'Halon Mamon. af loisoches einecho, ho'omokan momoin. So this momoin is a loisoches einecho, is momoin of the tashlumei boishes. So it's an amazing thing. You have one parsha and two different narratives in Chazal. One narrative is that there is a rodef and a nirdof, and the Isha Masakin L'chai, and by pulling the Ava or whatever, and there's a rodef and nirdof over here. And the other narrative, the Machzika Maravushov, is not that she's pulling in a way the Sachonis Nefashis, but grasping, holding on in a way that it's Mavayish, the adversary, the husband. So there's a whole new narrative over here that you pay Mamoin and you should be Merachem on the Isha. So now, if you have this approach, you understand that the Parsha, why the Parsha is talking about a woman who's machzik mavusha of an ish, because a woman machzik mavusha ish, that's boishes. And that's what Tashlumi Boish about. But according to this approach and this narrative of the Parsha, there's no sakonis nefoshes. And the woman wants to save her husband, Niski Chabola, but she does it in a way that it's mavayish someone, and the Torah is mechadesh, that even though a kavon is the Torah, she's mechuyev tashlumi boishes, because she could have stopped the live without being machzik bavusha. That l'chera is the more of a kamach of chesed aleph, that you could do it without it, I guess. But even if you take the second approach, that we're talking about tashlumi boishes, there's still problems. Because this ashora is only quoted in context of rodef. We don't actually find, maybe I'm mistaken, an ashora to merachim on a woman or on someone not to pay tashlumi boishes. The Rishonim have dealt with this issue. Rashi on Chumash, Bakatsoises Kapo, Dvorim Chavhei Yud Beis. Rashi explains that we collect the money from the woman, Tashlumi Boishes, and we don't cut off her hand. And he quotes the Sifri, the Gzeir Shava of Me'edim Zoimimim, Loisochos Einecho, V'chule Ayin B'ayin. And the Sifri, which I quoted before. So the Chera, Pash Zarashi, The whole pasuk is coming as Gezerah Shava, and there's literally no lav. It's just to tell you that you chayiv momon, and you don't cut off the hand. So l'cheira, there's no pshuta shel mikvah, because there's really no ashara, because Chazir Meforish bo ze lamed shegoy momon v'ein koitzin es yoda. V'ein koitzin yoda l'cheira is mashma, not that there's a lav, it's just a shlila. You don't cut off a hand. And that's the look from the Gezerah Shava. So maybe there's no lav at all. Secondly, just to in context of this, you see that you say ayin ba'ayin is momoin, so you can say it's the may ayin, or how much the evidence is worth less or whatever. But tashlumi boishes, when you evaluate in terms of the hand, because it's tashlumi boishes of the nizik the amazik. What does that have to do with the price of the hand of the woman? Next, the Rambam in Minyan Mitzvos, Lois Reish Ayin Tes, you have to check out the Targum. We've been Tibin over there and Ksavat Kapach. You compare, it's probably not like Ibn Tibin, but whatever. V'chein b'sifrei achinuch, b'sefer achinuch, mitzvah tavkuf chaf aleph, and in Mishnah Torah, Hilchos Sanhedrin, per chaf aloch adalet. There's a lav to be chas on someone who's chayav a knas and to pate the person from tashlumin, or to have rachmonis on a person who's chayav misa and to pate him for misa. Since Hilchos Sanhedrin per chaf aloch adalet, loises reish ayin tes, and the Sefer Chinuch simen tavkuf chaf aleph. Here, the suggestion now, this is a suggestion. The Rambam, remember, there's an amazing thing. The Rambam quotes a lav. You see in Rashi, you don't know it's a lav. It's just the enoi, the leisochos enecho, that that ain't quite to sin as yoda. Okay, and it's you ain't quite to this yoda. It's not that there's a lav, but the Ram says there's a lav. Remember the Ram in Perek Aleph halacha dalid of chayvul mazik, v'chein zeshnem b'chayvul b'chaveu maziko leisochos enecho shaloslachos b'tashlumin shematayim onihu zeh shalei b'kavona choval. So the truth is, there's a loisachos, there are few loisachos einech on the Torah. Is it the lav by ayin be ayin, or is it the lav over here of a katzos is couple loisachos einech? Which one is he referring to? So, a simpler way to say is referring to ayin be'ayin is a different lav. We're not interested over here. But if you say that he's talking about the lav in our pasuk, it becomes nuts, because in Protei Mitzvos, the Ram quotes this lav only by Hilchos Veitzeach. and not in Hilchos Chayvul Mazik. And Minyan Mitzvahs, Reish Tzadi Gimel, there's no Zecher of the Lav, the Gabe Tashlumi Boishes. See, here you could say, and this I want you to think about. Even if you're ready to say the two narratives over here, it's going on in this parsha. And it's not the way Rashi says that Ein Koititzin, it's a Shlilo, but it's really an Ashora. But the Ashora of Boishes is not a separate Ashora, but it's a kefil of the lav of Leisochus Eincho, which the Ram quotes as in Hedrin. It's not a separate lav. It's a kefil from a different lav, from lav Reish Ayin Tes. And therefore, it's really quoted in the Protei Mitzvahs and Hilchos Nahedrin, because it's not a separate lav. It's only a separate lav when it comes to Leidev. When it comes to the case of Boishes, it's one lav with the lav of Yisrachim, of the Rambam Perichof, of Hilchos Nahedrin Lochadalid, that you shouldn't be merachim on a person to pater them from Knas or from Mechil Misa. Okay. So this we're having fun of it. It's like, you know, it's man, what can I say? It's true that it's very difficult how we can learn out two mitzvahs or two disparate issues from the same pasuk. And the Ram clearly in Mishnah Torah is like that, because he quotes the same pasuk both of Katzos' Kapo, he quotes it in Boishes, and he quotes it in Wotzeach Shmiras HaNefesh. So one might say that Adarabah, the questions we asked at the beginning, they are the basis of two Pirushim. You have to have such a crazy case, because the only way that you can have Boishes and a Rodef, the only type, the Machzik Mavushov, is both Boishes and Rodef. And any simpler scenario would have been either Rodef without Boishes or Boishes without Rodef. But the Torah said in this strange way, in order that we should have both cases at the same time. We're going to have both dinim. And since Adrabah, the Parsha is not understood according to any one of the Pshatim, but the various nuances require two different narratives. Therefore, the Rambam interprets that you can learn out two separate dinim, even though they're disparate dinim from the same Parsha. Now, on the side, there's something which, just want to throw a monkey wrench into everything. There's a Ram in the Hakdama to Pirush Mishnah that does an amazing thing. He stresses that there are words that you are enjoined to interpret them according to Pshuto Shel Mikra. And one of them is Ayin Be'ayin. And you cannot explain it, then it means it's only the price of the eye, not the eye itself. And then he continues and says the following. Listen to this. Shenema batera, v'katzoi says kapo, loisochos eincho, shuhu ketzitzas hayad, mamish, And one might say that it's to cut off the hand. V'eno knas hamavayish kamo shebiru hakabbalah. And it seems to say, Pashtus, that you can't interpret Bakatsoises Kapo literally as Ksitzes Yad Mamish, but you have to interpret like the Pirush Makubal that it's Mammon. And like the Gemara Bakaman Chavches, Lesochas Inecho is Mammon. And in Pirush Mishnah, Kilu the Sifri of a Katzesis Kapo, that you actually cut the hand off and to save the life of the lady from the Nirda, this save the life of the Nirda from the lady, is completely not mentioned. So, and the Ram says that someone who says that the Pshuta Shel Mikra, a Novia comes and says, you interpret Makatzesis Kapo, Ikipshutai is a Novia Sheker. Oh, the mitzvah minyan mitzvahs, this mitzvah. Kipshutai. So maybe you can think about it, look at the Ram over there. And maybe the pshat is that the Ram is not saying that someone, he's not denying the pshutai, but the Novi is denying the Kabbalah. And anyone, even if he says the Pirush Mishnah is moida, then there's a mashmos of pshuta shel mikvah. And that's the din of Leidei. But the Ram says the Novi is kaif in the Kabbalah. And he only has the pshuta shel mikvah. Shomer Katzuzi, Hirak is only Ksitzes Hayad Mamish. And B'leidef Dafka. And it's not a case of Boishes, and that's the Kfila. We'll look over there and see this, but a very interesting Mamba. But whatever it is the most important thing I want you to walk away, that there are two narratives in the Parasha, and the Ram says both narratives exist, and they coexist. Okay. Next. So this idea that Mavushav is Eva Sheish Basakonis Nefashis, the Ram also has it not only over here in Pirush Hamish in Sefer HaMitzvos, in this mitzvah, he has it in the Hilchos Yitzhak Shmiras HaNefesh, Perek Avo Ches, Echa Mavushav Yecha Kol Dovo Sheish Basakonis Nefashis. B'chulei u'matzil nesar nirdav b'kapo sheloidev. But l'chayra, you should include if there's only sakonis eva and no sakonis nefoshes, there's no mitzvah to be matzel the nirdav. And we don't even know the din of what's the din if Ruvaitz has a fight with Shimon and there's an issue of Sakonis Eva. Are you allowed to misakin an Eva from Kiru V'Roidef in order to Matzul and Nildaf? We know nothing about this. The whole discussion of Roidef and Nildaf is only a situation of the Voshes. We don't know what happens when there's a fight and someone is about to destroy an Ava from a person. What you're allowed to do? Are you allowed to destroy the Ava, or of the Rodef. We know nothing from the Parsha. And the Ram, we know nothing. Okay. Next. The Rambam here learns the mitzvah Atzolas Harodef Miara Nirdaf from the Sifri and the Pasuk Tzosis Kapo, meaning Mitzvah Kotzer, but in the Talmud, in the Gemara, the Makor for Arigas Harodef is from Na'amarasa. Mosen Hedgenain Gimel Man Aleph. The Ela Nitan Latziloi B'nafshu Menoro, Aseh B'kal V'choyma, Min Na'amarasa. Ma Na'amarasa, Shalei Bo El Lepoigmo, or Motera Nitan Latzilo B'nafshoi, Rodef Acha Chavero L'Hogoi, Alachas Kam V'kamo, V'chi Onshim Nadin, V'chulei, Devei Rebbe Tono Hekeshehu, Ki Kasher Yokom Ish Al Re'eu, U'etzocho Kein Adov Hazeh, Ma Lomadu Me'etzech, Me'ato, Hari Ze Bo L'Lamed, V'nim Salomed, Makish V'Selo Na'amrosa, Ma Na'amrosa, Nitan Latzola, Latzilo B'nafshoi, Af Reitzeach Nitan Latzilo B'nafshoi, Na'amrosa, Gufa Nolon, Giritona, Devei Bishmoel, Ve'ein Moshir Lo, Hayesh Moshir Lo, B'chol Dovesh Yochol Oshir. So it's very odd. The Rambam leaves the Talmud, doesn't mention the source of the Talmud for the Hatzolas Harodef, Hanirdat Mi'Harodef, and quotes the Sifri. So maybe the Rambam, and why does he do that? So maybe the Rambam, working in context of Shiur Sheni, that you can't learn a mitzvah of Midrasha, so he doesn't learn the mitzvah of Na'amarasa, which is not Mefurish B'Torah Shebiksav, Sheish L'Hatzah Naira, but it's only Mavur in the Torah that the Na'amarasa is not Chayiv Misa, but a Moshiach law is a reason that you're allowed to say we don't know that. And therefore the Rambam learns it out from Katzosis Kapo. But this, I think, needs a little work, and it's not so simple, because you're working with an assumption that there's a mitzvah. So if there's a mitzvah, we're going to have to learn after the Sifrei. But maybe there's no mitzvah, and it just, it's not a mitzvah, million on mitzvahs. And maybe the answer might be something else, that the Rambam B'derech Klal, when there's a Sifri, and in terms of minyan mitzvahs, he always takes the Sifri Halacha and not the Gemara. Maybe that's why he's doing this. Mitzvah Shem will pick up next week.